Apparently, you guys, a couple days ago, I heard on a podcast that our attention span is now less than that of a goldfish, and that most people tune out after 9 seconds. So if you want to get your message in, you have to grab people's attention right away. If you can't pay attention for more than 9 seconds, this video is definitely not for you. Today I want to talk to you about something really important, and along with it I'm going to share with you a personal story about how meditation transformed my anxiety. So if you're someone on a personal growth path struggling with anxiety or insecurity and all of the drama that goes along with that, then watching this video is for you. Hi. Oh, I'm so happy to be sharing some time with you like this. So I'm going to tell you a personal story. Should I have my friend in here with me? Make yourself comfortable, you know, grab a cup of tea. I drank coffee this morning and I'm like kind of jittery. I don't know why I drink coffee when it makes me jittery, but sometimes I just can't help myself. Well, I can't help myself, but I choose not to. So I'm having herbal tea right now. So I thought I'd start with a personal story, really about how I found meditation and how meditation transformed my anxiety and how it allowed me to really open up and wake up to the ease and peace and joy that I say is everyone's birthright. I hear so many clients and students come to me and say, you know, what do I do? Will meditation help me be rid of my anxiety? And so hopefully by the end of this, you'll have an answer, and it might not be quite what you think. So I wasn't always anxious. Before my parents divorced when I was about 4 years old, I have memories of being quite carefree, pretty wild. Not a lot of adult supervision around. My parents divorced when I was about 4 years old, and then I remember, 5, 6, 7, sort of shifting from this really sort of artistic and wild and thoughtful, creative little girl into a much more rigid, frightened, pleasing little girl. And one of them was like my parents, they got married and they were really young. I think they were about 20, no, less than that, 18, 19 years old. Both my parents were in active addiction to drugs and alcohol. And as a result, my sort of natural inclination towards exuberance and wildness and creativity and just joy was transformed into insecurity, fear, and deep, deep, deep self-doubt as like the adults around me that I looked for, I didn't know back then, but that I was looking to for, a sense of stability and attunement and reflection of who I was becoming as a person, that was really lacking. So at some point, I adapted. I was a great student, I was really smart. I did what I was told, and I was painfully afraid of social interaction. I remember in elementary school, I don't know, some of you might really relate to this. As I'm talking about it, I feel some sadness in my heart. As I remember being a little girl and not, in elementary school, not wanting to go outside and play. I was I was bullied. I think a lot of us were, and I was bullied. Just social interactions didn't seem very safe, very actively engaged academically. And I think in large part that was because I was so frightened of being judged, because I was. Now, as I progressed, I was always also pulled like in this really, I was always a searcher and seeking, and I loved singing in church, and I prayed to God, and I was drawn in this other way towards something else. You know, I had this call, this felt sense that there was deep, deep meaning in the world, and I wasn't touching it. I wasn't accessing it. And so I had good enough grades to go to school, and I studied and pursued psychology. And I got an office job, and I worked full time. And my job just did not suit my soul. Eventually, when I was about 26, I came to a crisis point, really not feeling aligned or connected. You know, I had been in a relationship with somebody, and that wasn't feeling very right, so I called off the engagement. I started drinking alcohol quite a bit. I started being really, you know, dating a lot of people, and I don't know, just, it was like, I wasn't happy, I wasn't myself, and I was like sort of acting out. And things weren't getting better. Just feeling more and more anxious and more just disconnected. Not happy, like not deeply happy. And so I found meditation. I'll try it. I was really willing to try anything. And like I'd mentioned before, I'd always been sort of a seeker. And right about that time, I'd started taking yoga classes at the gym I was going to. So I take meditation. I take like not that many classes, maybe 6 classes. And I have this like breakthrough. Incredible. Like I start meditating at home. And I remember sitting there one time in a meditation session and realizing that my thoughts were happening and I was still sitting there. In other words, I realized that I wasn't my thoughts. And so there was this sort of breakthrough that happened. And, you know, it was wonderful. Like I got really present. Life, I remember clearly, like seeing colors more clearly, feeling like deeply connected to rhythms of life and stuff just like making sense that hadn't made sense before. I hadn't read any books or anything, you guys. Like this was all just bubbling up from within. That started sort of this real like unbreakable confidence to something that I contained sort of within myself that I could access when I allowed myself just to settle down and get still. And really arrive here. And part of that was me just not giving all of my mental chatter so much attention. Because when I was lost in my mental chatter, I was really emotional and I was never present. No wonder I was feeling so dissatisfied and so anxious and scared and alone. And meditation had me like connect. I realized there was something deeper within me. And I wish I could say that that was the end of the story, that after I had that initial sort of awakening and wake up into the present moment, that and like this realization of how beautiful this moment really is and who I was in it, that everything just was dandy. And it wasn't. That illuminated all of my misunderstandings, all of my emotions that I had been unwilling to feel. Sort of, I began to see that there was a lot in the way of me really living presence and that joy and that happiness. And that all of that stuff that was in the way was part of my path. Anxiety being like the number one thing. And so from that, I sought support and guidance from teachers, and 2 primary teachers in particular, that helped me put the pieces, sort of the scattered pieces of myself back together through this like vehicle of presence that I was able to tap into through meditation. I couldn't do it through just meditation alone because the material that would come up in my meditation practice was confusing sometimes. I needed someone else to begin to attune to me in those places that I wasn't attuned to as a child. It's really what meditation did for me. So I like to say that anxiety became a continual friend for me on the path. Because it was my anxiety, my fear, what Ezra Beta so beautifully calls the anxious quiver of being, that I had to learn to tolerate and then listen to. And I couldn't have done that without the help of some amazing teachers that I've worked with over the last, God, I don't even know how many years, 15 years, 18 years, Right around the time when I had that breakthrough, about 6 months later, I found teachers to help me integrate some of the material that had gone largely kind of stuffed away. So what meditation helped me do was see that my anxiety wasn't a problem and that it didn't, in fact, mean anything wrong with me. That anxiety is part of being alive. Our nervous systems aren't comfortable with the unknown. You see, to be in presence requires a great deal of courage. We get to meet all of the conditioning that drives us from presence into our Facebooking, into our shopping, into our arguing, into our blaming, into our judging, into our criticizing, into our mind. But when we can pivot perspective and see that anxiety is not an enemy and that it can be sat with and breathed into, as my teacher Daijo Roshi said early on when I started working with him, anxiety, the energy of anxiety is the same as excitement. Because if we're willing to view even the challenging feelings and sensations and thoughts within as part of our practice, as part of our path, then we can sit down with them. And when we sit down with them with kindness and compassion, trusting that they're there because they should be there, then those states themselves serve as the medicine to awakening what's on the other side. So if we want ease, often we have to sit through the anxiety within. If we want joy, sometimes we have to be with our restlessness or our anger. If we want purpose, sometimes we have to sit with what it feels like to just be disconnected from purpose. Awakening joy and ease and peace is possible, but we need to be willing to get quiet and sit still. But what often stands in the way is this belief that what we feel as we sit down and what we think is wrong. We don't understand the terrain of presence. That when we get still, we will come up against everything that wants our love and attention. So anger will show up, restlessness will show up, ease will show up, not to be a pain in your ass, but to be loved. And then in that willingness to be with, which is love, they're transformed. But why don't we just practice for a moment with it? So, for the non-9-second attention deficit crowd, have a sip of tea, and just let yourself get comfortable. Be here for about a minute or two. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale out the mouth. You can even allow your eyes to open here. Come into your breath. You might look into my eyes. Let yourself settle. Let yourself be seen. Right here and right now. You might put a hand on your heart. Take a moment to name what's true. How are you feeling? What are you worried about right now? What are you happy about right now? What do you notice in your body? What might feel tight and contracted? We might feel open and at ease. Can you say it out loud? Can you name it to me? Go ahead. Get it off your chest. Literally. And notice what it's like just to meet yourself in this way. What's it like to admit what's hard? What's it like just to say it without seeking a solution? And then what's it like to be witnessed in that place? Nothing you're feeling or thinking or believing right now is a problem. What would it be like if you really trusted that? What would it be like to be at ease with however you are right now? You don't have to make that happen. Just sense how the body responds to the invitation. You might sense a little more settledness, a little more calm. Your mind will think thoughts. It's okay. You can come back here. No worries. We all wander away. But notice how you can come back here. Notice how safe it is here. And then have your breath join you. You might even close your eyes. Let your breath soothe you. And sense that you can breathe with your challenges. You can even breathe with the uncomfortable sensations in your body. Let it all be here. And then just allowing peace to wash over you. Notice that peace is here, available. Nothing is standing in the way. But when you make the unwanted parts of yourself welcome, then you realize you've always been standing right on your way to the wholeness that you've been seeking all your life. Good. I hope that connected you a little bit to something that I don't have words for. But isn't it nice that we get to be here together? Whole, complete, and yet becoming something beautiful. We are both being and becoming. The good news is you don't have to wait. You can be this now. What if you take this into your life, this present moment awareness? But it's not our habit, is it? It's not your habit if you don't practice it. You see, the grooves of inattention and fear and mistrust and discontent and negativity and all of that stuff, those grooves are well worn. And so in order to realize this presence more in your life, you've got to practice it. And so my gift to you is a free, I have this guided meditation practice that goes for 7 days. It's called 7 Days of Gratitude. I guide you through a sitting meditation practice, pretty short one that you can start doing in the morning. And a really helpful and effective writing meditation to help connect you to this deep, deep presence that's always available. I'll leave the link below, and I want to invite you to join me. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a little arrow. You just click it, subscribe, and you'll get the first look at all of my videos. If you would like to subscribe to my newsletter, I would love to have you on there. Like, freely offered really good stuff just like this. So why not? I'll leave a link for that below. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining me and hearing my story. It's been lovely to connect with you in this way. I'm sending you so much love and many blessings. Namaste.